I remember when I received an urgent email from a member of our church saying that he and his family had been robbed, scammed if you will, in Spain and needed to be able to pay their bill before they could leave the country. And of course I was just thinking, oh Lord, I'm glad it was him and not me. But I wanted to help him and his family, and I got really busy doing it and got the money to him through Western Union, and then it dawned on me, I should have called to see if he was in town. I hadn't heard about his going out, and sure enough he wasn't. And so I was out $1,000 right there. It was $1,000 well lost, I might say, because I was trying to do something to help my brother in need. But we need to be alerted, do we not? And fortunately for us, providentially I would be better to say, God has put Terry in our midst, and Terry Speicher graduated from Oral Roberts University 35, 40 years ago, and he has been a man who has taken what he learned there. He majored in computer science, and he's parlayed it in not just to a business, but into a ministry. And he's been a part of our church, Shelley and he, I don't know exactly how many years, over 15 years I know, probably close to 20 years now, time flies. And we've been very blessed to have them in our fellowship. And Terry is not a know-it-all, but he knows it all. He's very, very kind and gentle with people like me who really are computer illiterate. And we are grateful that the Lord has put this on his heart and the elders' heart. Really, you're invited here today on behalf of the elders themselves who have sanctioned this day, and we're looking forward to a great day together. Terry, come, my brother.
Thank you.
And have you appointed someone to pray?
You.
Okay, good. Father, I do thank you for Terry. Thank you for the investment you made in him. Even before he was born in his mother's womb, you knew him. And in that process, you put the know-how in potential form to be here today to help us. So we ask you'll give him clarity of thought. Help him not to be self-conscious, but to be Christ-conscious. Help us to learn from you today through our dear brother, Terry. Jesus, we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I don't need that. Shelley will, though. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Mike. Thank you all for being here. This is quite a opportunity. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to share this information. This is something that's been on my heart for quite a while. I've seen a lot of scams. I've dealt with a lot of people who have been scammed, and a lot of times I'm the person who has the heartbreaking job of telling them that they've been scammed. We've got a lot of information to cover. I have packed so much information in here. I'm pretty certain we're not even going to get through it all, but I want to try to get the things that we feel that we need to cover, the things that I think can help you the most in your life and to avoid getting scammed. I've got about 10 pounds of flour I got to fit into a 5-pound bag. So that's how much information we got. We're going to go through it. And I'll try not to lose anyone. I'll try to make sure that I cover things. If we have any technical difficulties, we don't stand on ceremony here. So just bear with us and we'll go through this. If you have questions, those index cards that you were given are for you to write down any questions that come up or any questions that you might have in your life. With having so much information, and I am actually very amazed that when we started putting this seminar together and started just word of mouth telling people about it, how many people started wanting to give us stories. So I'm betting that everybody here has a story that they'd like to share. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all of them, but we do like to hear them. We'll give you some more instructions a little later on how you can get that information to us. First, we're going to start with some disclaimers. No one here is acting as a lawyer. No one's here as a lawyer, and we're not giving you any legal advice. Any discussion of legal matters is simply to provide simple questions that you can address with your own personal legal counsel. I'll probably say that again other times. Anything we give you is just advice. Check it out with those who are licensed to give you real advice. I just want to let you know this. We are not advocating for someone not to pay their debts that they owe. When someone calls you with bill collecting, they are required to do certain things. First of all, they have to say that they are collecting a bill. Secondly, there are laws that say things they cannot say. They cannot lie to you. They cannot tell you things that are untrue, like you're going to go to jail. Okay? So if they do things like that, I'm classifying that as a scam. Right? They're trying to scam you out of your money. Yes, you owe the money. I just want to reiterate, we're not saying don't pay the money. You owe the money. But that part of the bill collection is a scam, and that also relates to other people who are trying to scam you and trying to get the money. So I just want to say that up front as a disclosure. Please pay your bills, but do it with your timing in mind. And I say that because we've seen people who would say, well, this guy's calling me so much, they're really harassing me. If I don't eat for this month, or I just eat, potatoes, then I can have the money to do that. Well, that's a scam. That's wrong. That's someone dictating your life to you, and we want to help you take control of those things. I do have a credit card, and I do use it, and I want you to know that I use it especially for business on places where I am unsure that it's a valid website. If there is a place that I'm not sure of, it looks a little sketchy, I can put it on a credit card, because what can you do with a credit card? You can dispute it. Now that's very important, because we're going to talk about that more and get into that more about the credit cards and the disputes. But it's important to remember, you can dispute a charge on a credit card. Today we're going to talk about a few Marges and a few Homers. I'm not going to use any real names. We've got some people that we have talked with. Some people have shared their stories. Some people have been very gracious about it. And other people are experiences that I've had, especially in business. I will be referring to them as Marge and Homer, so that just to protect the innocent and keep the names out of it. Okay, as we get started here, and I'm starting to get loosened up and warmed up, I'd like everybody to do me a favor and stand with me. If you'd all stand together. I actually thought about naming this seminar. We've called this seminar, How to Avoid Being Scammed. I actually thought about naming it, It's a Scam. But that does have a little bit of problem when you start to advertise, because who wants to come to a seminar that says it's a scam? So one of the things we're going to do throughout this day is try to get into your mind to look for scams. So we're going to start with this phrase that we're going to have you repeat at different times. And I want you on the count of 3 to say it with me all at the same time. It's a scam. 1, 2, 3. It's a scam. All right, you can be seated. Thank you. Okay, these are the sections for today that we're going to be covering. You don't have to write them down. We're going to keep track of them as we go along. And we'll let you know when we go from one section to the other. The first section, I'm going to show you something else that we're going to use as a tool throughout this time. This is a clip from the movie Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. This scene is where Bruce Willis is confronting Samuel L. Jackson as if he's a scammer. And we're going to use this phrase a lot. And what's the key on that? What's your credit card number? It's the idea that something's going on, something is happening, you're doing something, you're transacting something, and then it's all good and well until someone says, I need some money. And I know we're not going to be paying scammers with credit cards because you can dispute the charge. But we're going to use that phrase a lot. We just need your credit card number, just so you remember, all right, here we go. Now, wait a minute, you need money? Oh, this is a scam. Let's look at the evolution of scams. It's good to know where we started. Back in the days, there was snail mail. Remember when that was all we had? If you look at your handout, the second page on there is an example of what's called a Nigerian prince letter. Now, back in the day, that's the way that scams would get sent through mail. through the post with a stamp. There is no mention in this letter about needing any money from you. They don't ask for your credit card. They don't ask for any cash. They don't ask for anything. This is what's called a hook. They're sending all these out. This is the bait they're sending out, if you will, and they're looking for someone to hook. The way they're going to hook you is when you call them. Most people are going to see this, see it's a scam, throw it away. It's in the trash. Those people who don't throw it away, who can look at it and they think, oh, this is a good thing. They're hooked, they call. Once the people call them, now they know they have a fish to play with and try to scam. So I included a copy of that. And that would go out through snail mail. It's called the Nigerian Prince Letter, and it's in the class that we're going to call Advance Fee Scams. You can win something, or there's the promise of something, but you have to pay a fee first. Again, all we need is your credit card number. In those days then, faxes came about. Woohoo, that was great. How many of you remember those curly page faxes? Yeah, I'm old enough too. And then the Nigerian Prince scam letter came over faxes. Western Union was around, one of the earliest ways to transfer money. What's the difference between Western Union and a credit card? There is no recourse. You cannot dispute a Western Union charge. Cash. Once you give cash, it's gone too. Credit cards came about. Credit cards became very prevalent. There were a lot of scams or fraud that happened with credit cards. If somehow you gave your number to someone and they used it, they kept it, they could use it and they could commit fraud with it. And then came computers. Computers were really a wonderful technology invention in our lives. It started all this stuff. So going back, we can see computers. But that brought some problems. Once you had computers, you ended up with things called viruses. Now viruses, just like the physical virus, they infect your computer and then they spread to other computers. They would self-propagate like the real physical ones, and they would do so through floppy disks. Now, what did you get from these things? It varied. Sometimes it was just a minor inconvenience. You know, it played a tune on a certain day. All the way to the worst ones where it would wipe out your entire hard drive. It was all gone. And you know, given that we're here today talking about scams, don't you wish for those days where all it did was take out your hard drive and not have people going after your life savings? But think about this. The people who wrote those viruses, what did they get out of it? They only got, I gotta sound this out, anonymous notoriety. Nobody could let them know. Nobody could tell their friends, hey, I did that, because people come arrest them. So in the dark corners where hackers would live, they would come up with these viruses, and then only the few people around them would know, hey, I know that, or they'd know their pseudonym, but they never got anything from it except that, and possibly trouble. So thanks to Al Gore, what did we get? The internet. Oh, now things change, don't they? Here comes the internet, and it interconnects all of our computers and all of our devices. With that, we get email. And what do we get with email? Nigerian Prince scams. And now they're not just Nigerian Prince scams, but any kind of scam that will ask you for money, any fee-based, advanced fee kind of scam. I do remember when we had a young lady staying with us. Again, her name was Marge. And she got one of these, and she was so excited. And the excitement was she came to us, she said, oh, this person has this, and they're willing to give this much money. And she had these plans for what she could do with the money. And she was a Christian woman, and it was good stuff. She had good plans for it. Of course, you know, when they talk about this, as you see in the letter, it's millions of dollars. Nobody's going to give you millions of dollars. I wish. So all I did was I looked at the email, I copied a sentence out of it that looked unique, did a Google search on it, and it comes back with all these examples and people telling about how it's a scam. Remember, it's all good, it's just a letter, until they ask for your credit card. Email is also made for easier virus transmissions. The internet also made it possible for us to do internet banking. Now you have a website you can go to and get on your bank and see your balances. Then they also made it so that through that banking website, you could start paying your bills. No more having to put stamps on them. You can pay them straight from the banking website. Gift cards came about. Those were fun. Who doesn't love to get a gift card? You know, if you're going to send a gift to your grandkids or your family or your sister or your mom and dad, you don't have to pay the post office for this big bulky thing that you bought. You just buy the gift card and send it to them. They're as good as money. Electronic bank transfers, it became about more that you do ACH, automated clearinghouse. You can transfer money easier between banks, between other institutions using ACH. Online money apps came about. Zelle, Venmo, and Cash App. Now you also know there's other ones. There's Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay. Everybody's got to pay. Everybody wants to get in on it. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin came about. It's an interesting philosophy that this currency is not tied to anything, it's not managed by any governments, it's intergovernmental, and it's untraceable. This brings up the dark side. Untraceable websites. When you have the internet, there are people who want to hide their activities, and how many of you have heard of the dark web? How many of you know what the dark web is? It's not something that you need to know, except you don't need to go there. And the reason that it's there is because it can't be traced. I'm not going to go into the technical details. It is actually fascinating technically, the way that it works. But that's not the point. The point is, take my word for it, it's untraceable. It's called the dark web, and it uses Tor and Onion. If you ever hear this, I'm just putting those words up there so you can hear it. You use a Tor browser instead of Google Chrome. And Onion is the way that things go around because there's all these layers that you can't see through. This brought about something, though. Viruses with a different purpose. Remember, I told you the earlier viruses, all they could do is worst is erase your hard drive. But now, you've got viruses that are being sent from people and made by people who are after your money. And that created a perfect storm of technology. I remember the first time that I had a customer who got one of the cryptocurrency viruses. The virus came in on an email. The virus ran on the computer, encrypted all of the data. It was still there, it didn't wipe it out. It encrypted all the data. And then it posted instructions all over the computer and on the dark web for where the Bitcoin needed to be sent to. It required Bitcoin in order to decrypt the viruses. Now, up to this point, I had always thought, we get a virus, it encrypts the data, they want it unencrypted, they want payment, I'll use my credit card, we'll decrypt the data, and then we'll call the credit card company, get it disputed, get the money back. Well, now, because of this development with Bitcoin and with the dark web, they've got all three and create a perfect storm of how to get your data and how to get money from you that's not traceable and it's not, there's no disputing it. Once it's gone, it's gone. Now, why do we talk about that? What's the purpose of talking about the evolution of scams and computers? It's important to know where they started from, but it's even more important to know that everything that we're covering here today is going to change. New technology is going to come about. Things are going to change. People are going to ask for your money in different ways. So just remember, what's the key phrase? How do you know when it's a scam? What do they say? I just need your credit card. All right, so that's the evolution of scams. So why are we susceptible to scams? Because we don't assume honesty in other people. I consider myself to be a pretty honest person. And I am still shocked and surprised sometimes that people lie. And I don't know why I'm shocked about that. We know human nature. We know people lie. We've all been lied to enough. You would think we would know it, but we don't. We still get suckered into it. sometimes by people who are lying. Sometimes we feel lonely, need love, or want attention. It feels good to be in a community. It feels good to have a relationship with someone. So these are all reasons that we're susceptible to scams, just different kinds of scams. We get excited about money. Sometimes it's greed, but not always. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being excited about a windfall. That's okay, but we get excited about that, and that's an emotion. All of these things that are on here are emotions. So what's the point? How is it that you hear about people getting scammed? When you hear people get scammed, you're like, oh, well, that would never happen to me. It can. Nobody is above this. And we're going to cover today what I have as a problem. But the whole key that we have here, the whole hook for this, is emotions. Okay? Now, we've got emotions. We've got to. But the problem with having emotions, and this is where we get into this issue, emotion bypasses logic. We've seen it with Dave Ramsey when we talk to people who are dealing with debt collectors. The most unruly ones, they get in your face, they yell at you, they cause problems, and they get you stirred up inside because they want to get you out of your normal path so that you pay them money. And scammers do the same thing. Scammers will get at your emotions somehow. We talked about a few of them. Excitement about money, loneliness, fear. Fear is a huge one that we're going to talk about. So emotion bypasses logic. So I want you to picture this, a little word picture. Emotion is like a fog in your mind. And sometimes it can be a very thick fog. So what we need, what breaks away fog? Sunlight. We are going to try to shed a little sunlight on these things. I'm going to try to give you little rays of sunshine that can help break through this fog of logic that you have in your head. Yeah, we need sunlight. All right, our next section is knowing the truth, fraud versus scam. There's a distinct difference between fraud and scam. So we want you to know the truth. Identity theft, very rampant. Someone comes and takes your identity. If someone comes and takes your identity, what can they do with it? Depends on what information they have. Let's say they stole your checkbook. Okay? Going somewhere to a store and presenting a check as with your check, without your signature, is identity theft. They are posing as you, and they are going to try to get something. Identity theft can be just taking your social security number. We've heard stories about that. I don't think I have to go into too much detail, but identity theft, people can go out and create driver's licenses with your social security number, their picture on it, their own address. And using your social security number, using all this stuff, they can purchase things. They can get credit cards. They can open bank accounts. They can fake your signature. And all of these things that people do in identity theft, with that, they can get car loans, credit cards, and they can even buy houses. They can do anything. But it's fraud. Now, if someone, and you probably know the answer to this, and we're going to take it out a little further. If someone takes your credit card and buys something with it, how much are you liable for? Anybody? $50. If someone charges up $100 on it, how much are you liable for? I heard $50 back there. Anyone else? Zero. The answer is zero. Do not let any credit card company tell you that you're liable for it. You're not. It was fraud. Fraud means someone else acted as you. You didn't do it. So just because they took your credit card, that you're liable for it? No. Anytime it's fraud, you're not liable. But that's identity theft, and if it's a lot of money, you're going to know it right away. And it happens. It happened to us one time. I'm sitting doing some stuff, and Shelly was across the room visiting with somebody else, and I'm looking on the bank account, and I just looked up and I said, "Shelly, what did you buy in in Mexico City, Mexico, yesterday? I thought you were with me the whole day." Now, I can be light about it, and we were. First of all, two reasons. One, it wasn't a whole lot of money. It was, several $100s, which is not small, but secondly, I knew it was fraud and I knew I wasn't liable. It's a pain. You got to go to the bank, you got to fill it out, you got to do this paperwork, but the important thing is don't pay it. You're not liable. You didn't sign for it or give permission. If you gave someone permission to go use your credit card, then you're liable. So you're not liable. What you will have, let's talk about identity theft, you'll have a big, big mess. Because what happens? Someone steals your identity and they go out and they charge up a car and credit cards and they max them out. So thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, you have to take care of it because everyone's going to be coming at you. You're going to have credit card collectors calling you, bill collectors, repo men showing up. You're not liable for it, but what do they think? They think you did it, and now you're crying foul and saying, no, it wasn't me, it was identity theft. So you have to convince them and show them there really was identity theft. And it is a big mess. In the Dave Ramsey class, Dave Ramsey says, you've got a new part-time job. You've got to accumulate all the paperwork. You've got to send the paperwork to everyone. You've got to file the police report. You have to answer all the phone calls. And there are identity theft insurances that will help you deal with that. So if you carry that insurance and you have identity theft, you help them, you talk to them, and they will help you walk through getting it straightened out. But you have recourse because, again, it wasn't you. And I want to drill that in as much as I can. That's fraud. Fraud is you didn't do it. You don't have to pay it. Let's talk about scams. Scams, you were tricked. You were tricked into doing something. But the key being, you did it. By our definition then, if you were scammed, it's a legitimate legal transaction. You did it, you're responsible for it. Remember, fraud, you're not liable. You didn't do it, you're not responsible. With scams, you are liable. You did the transaction and you are responsible. However, do whatever you can to get your money back. It is possible. I talked to one Marge just a few days ago who had just sold her son's car, put $7,000 in the bank. Then she got a call from someone posing as someone from the bank saying, we're going to send you a code. We need you to give it back to us to verify that you are who you say you are. And she did. We're going to talk about that too, the multi-factor authentication, where a company or a bank especially sends you a code. So she gave the code to someone over the phone. Well, with that code, they got into her account. They took all the money. And I asked her, how quickly did you realize that you'd been scammed? She said, right away. I knew it. I felt it. I got on the bank, saw the money was gone. Called the bank right away, and they're like, oh yeah, it happens all the time, and they put the money back because it happened right then. So the sooner you recognize that it's a scam, the better chance you have. Fight for your money to get it back. You may not be able to, and we're going to show you some situations where you can't, and it's good to know, but it's good to fight for everything you can. We had someone who got scammed that we know. And this person, we're going to call her Marge, was very kind to give us testimony about it. So we are going to play this. It's about 3 minutes long. We're going to play and listen to this information, and then we're going to talk about it some more.
I was the victim of a perpetrated scam that left me homeless. This criminal took everything I had as he masqueraded as an employee of the fraud department of a well-known bank. One day as I was on my computer, a screen appeared out of nowhere that was from Microsoft informing me that there was a malicious spyware on my computer. I wasn't able to delete it as many times as I tried, so I called the number that was from Microsoft on the screen. A girl answered and explained to me that my bank account had been hacked and that all that was in my account was set to go out within 2 hours. She said the bank tried to notify me of this transaction at 4:30 in the morning, but that the hackers intercepted that call. She then proceeded to give me her badge number and had me call the fraud department of the bank number that she gave me. She said, when you speak to them, give them my badge number for verification. So I did. A man answered the phone and verified the girl's badge number and got back to me. I was told that my phone also was hacked. The man told me that the safest way to keep money is in cryptocurrency, which I knew nothing about. He also installed apps on my phone. One called AnyDesk was one of them. Another was called UltraView, which he installed on my computer. With the AnyDesk app, my phone, he was able to get into my mobile banking app and manipulated all the money I had in my account. He instructed me to withdraw almost $7,000 in cash and deposit it in a machine at a Circle K, which looked like an ATM machine. This machine took all the money and translated it into cryptocurrency. With the other $3,000 I had left in my account, he did a wire transfer to another bank in California. He used the AnyDesk app in my phone to do this. He had full control over all my accounts, including credit cards. He also took my monthly Social Security check a few days later as soon as I received it, because I had direct deposit of the check into my account. It took me many years to earn my excellent credit scores, which were in the 800s, and he took it all away. He maxed out all my credit cards by having me buy gift cards at $500 each at Home Depot, which was $11,000. Sam's Club was $8,500. Discover was $5,000. American Express was $1,000. The bank credit card was $7,500. The credit cards held me liable because he made me do all the purchasing. I received no credit from any of them. Not even the bank reimbursed me the $10,000 because they said I tried to get money out of them. I lost everything, not even a penny to my name. I am still picking up the pieces to my life from this scam. Beware of these scams that can happen to anyone. These criminals are very smart and savvy with technology.
Pardon me. I mentioned that I've taught Financial Peace University along with my wife for over 10 years. I have the interesting distinction of saying I've made at least 2 widows cry in the class. And that's because I get so involved in the money. I get so involved in the mathematics. I'm such a nerd about it. And then all of a sudden I turn around and I see the person there. In this case, it was some widows who were in the financial situation. And I'm just blowing right by the emotions. And this one really hit me because I didn't hear this interview until after I had done all the slides for this. And we put this in and I did this interview and I was just speechless. Like, everything that we teach is right there. These scammers are nasty people. They destroy lives. And sometimes it just gets me. And I'm sorry. It's why we're here. We want to help people out. And I know because you're here, you want not only to help yourself, but you want to help your families. If you've seen the advertisement that I did where I showed the picture of my parents, and I've had to help them with issues on technology and knowing if things are scams or not. So we are really here to help people and help with their lives. Let's go ahead and talk about the next section. Lawsuits, criminal versus civil. There are 2 types of lawsuits, criminal and civil. In a criminal lawsuit, let's talk about the criminal side for a second. Now I see all you people, you look clean, you smell good. I'm going to assume that you guys are not criminals. I would be surprised if any of you were. Because a criminal lawsuit has to start with a criminal action, at least an alleged action. We think somebody did something. A criminal action is because someone broke the law. Again, usually you know if you're a criminal, right? Is there anybody in here who's a criminal that doesn't know it? Of course you can. Raise your hand, right? Usually in a criminal action, the police are involved. In a criminal action, there's a lawsuit, but it's the government who sues the person in a criminal action. I want you to see, as I go through these next bullet points, how long this process takes. First of all, there's a grand jury. Someone has to convince a grand jury that you did something wrong. Then after that, there's an arrest warrant that's issued. The police come to get you, they arrest you, and they do that thing that we see on every police show. They read you your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney, and on and on and on. How many of you, if you don't know you're a criminal or not, have had the Miranda rights read to you, and you're not sure if you're a criminal? If the police haven't read you your Miranda rights, you haven't been arrested. Then you have to get taken down and get booked. Then there's jail, or you make bail and you get out. You got to contact a lawyer. Got to go to court. Have to have a trial. And then, if you're convicted, it's going to be jail and or a fine. Say, how many of you think that that can happen in 24 hours? How many of you seen a TV show in where it does happen within 24 hours? Right? The media has really blown that out of proportion, but yeah, they have to. They've only got a certain amount of time, and who wants to follow a case that's going to take weeks and months? Because that's really how long it takes for this to go through conviction, for you to have a judgment against you, for you to be a criminal, to be convicted, all this. And this is not a secret process. This is well known. Everybody's going to know. You mean, this is public information. This is known. It's not going to be a surprise. Look how long it takes. Civil lawsuits. Civil lawsuits also have a due process they have to go through, but it's essentially non-criminal. It's where one person or business entity sues another person or business entity. And the purpose of that is not to put them in jail. The purpose is to recover money or to get them to stop an action. Let's talk about the civil lawsuit due process. First of all, someone has to decide they want to sue you, so they have to go file a lawsuit against you. Once the lawsuit is filed against you, you have to be notified in person. Everybody say, in person. In person, that's very important. If you haven't been served in person, you haven't been sued. Once the lawsuit is filed, then the person comes to you, and that person is called a process server. This is part of the law. You have to be served by the process server. And I don't want you to think that this is, they don't hire Hell's Angels to come serve summons and the process paperwork. I have been served. I have been sued. The gentleman who showed up to give me the papers was a nice, clean-cut young man. He wore a button-down shirt and a tie, nice loafers, walked in, kind and gentle. He doesn't have a stake in the fight. It doesn't matter. He's just there to give me some papers and get a signature. It is not an adversarial type of situation. You don't have to fear process servers. If you have not been served, you have not been sued. Once you get served that paperwork, it starts a timer. And I wanted to make a special shout out and thank David for helping me clarify. David also wants to offer the disclaimer that he is not a practicing lawyer and giving lawyer advice in this. And that's David Hassler, and I appreciate that very much. And he did help us go through some of this stuff. In general, once you get served by a process server, you have 30 days to respond to that lawsuit. 30 days. Everybody say 30 days. 30 days. All right. So they are not going to come pick you up and take you to jail or take your house or take your car right when you get served on with a process server. After you send back a response within that 30 days, it starts the pre-trial. All the motions and everything that sure you've seen on all the court TVs. And then discovery, where interrogatories have to go back and forth. This process can take anywhere from 30 days to several months. In that time, then, you'll either settle the lawsuit or it will be set for trial. Once it's determined it's set for trial, the judge puts it on its docket. That will often be another month or two because dockets are very full. At the end, if you lose, there's a judgment against you. After that, there's 30 days that you have to wait for all the paperwork to be filed. And after that 30 days, if you lose and there's a judgment against you, the person who sued you can come after you for things. They can garnish certain types of paychecks. But here's what will not happen. You will not be arrested. This is not a criminal lawsuit. We don't arrest people for owing money. You will know that you are being sued. It's not going to be a surprise. That's one of the tactics that scammers will use, is they will try to convince you that you have been sued. You will not get a phone call telling you that you lost a lawsuit in which you were not served. If you don't know about being served, you weren't sued. No knowledge, it didn't happen. You will not receive threatening phone calls about being served. You will not be threatened to lose your house or car. You will not receive calls threatening to take you to jail. You will not, in general, receive any phone calls in a legitimate lawsuit. You cannot be arrested because you owe someone money. How many of you know that in the United States, since the 1800s, we do not have debtor's prison? Right? Think about it. You can't go to jail because you owe somebody money. When they finally did away with that in the 1800s, and what's the logic? Why would you send someone to jail? They can't pay you then anyway. So if you keep them out of jail, maybe there's a chance you can get it, but there are a lot of things about that. But scammers will try to tell you that you can go to jail. You will not be surprised by a trial. All right, we'll finish up with this. You will not be taken to jail if you owe someone money. Debtors' prisons were eliminated. You will not have money taken out of your paycheck without a trial. So why am I telling you all this? Knowing the truth about lawsuits can save you when someone threatens you. Final story I'll tell you before we take a quick break. These get me. And I want to tell you that because most of the other stuff that I'm going to share with you, all the technology stuff, I know. I know when it's a scam. I know how to trace it. But the emotion that gets me is fear. I have been sued before. I have been served paperwork. I've had to go to court. I can promise you it is nowhere near as bad as what the scammers say on the phone. But they use that to instill fear. I've had a couple instances where someone has called me on the phone. One where someone said, a lady called me and she was a good talker. She was fast, you know. She was acting like a lawyer. She was talking fast and telling me this law firm is the one that she works for, that I'd have a judgment against me and that I needed to pay it and all this. And I'm like, okay, well, wait. And all that was going through my mind was, how did I miss the summons to court? Because I know the due process. I know it. And I knew it then. Like, how did I miss this? Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I've got to fix this. Okay, well, then so I get paper. Okay, so how much is it owed? Okay, and who's it owed to? I'm not repeating myself. Okay, what law firm are you from? And I'm not saying it again, you know. So these are all red flags. So here's the interesting thing. I knew it was a scam at that point. Because anyone who's calling you wanting money, they're going to give you all the information so that they can get it if it's legitimate. If it's a scam, they're just blowing by it. So when she started blowing by it, I'm like, this is a scam. I knew it in my mind. But I'm shaking. The fear got to me so much. I remember calling Shelly and saying, I just got a call from someone saying I owe this money and I told them it wouldn't need it and they hung up. She said, you know it was a scam. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I was so surprised that I was so shaken. So don't think that you can't get scammed. You can. What is it that scammers use to get this as a hook? your emotions. We're going to talk some about different kinds of emotions. Welcome back. Hope you had an enjoyable break. This next section we're calling Knowing Truths. The truth about domain names and spoofing. We are going to tech you up. We're going to show you some technology. This next section is very, very important because I would say that 90% of the scams that I see come from this type of a scam. We're going to tech you up and show you two different technologies. First of all, when you go web browsing, when you get on the internet, how many of you know what a URL is? Excellent, I like it. For those of you who don't know, it stands for Universal Resource Locator. That's just a big name to say that's what you type in the address bar. So what do you type in there when you want to go to JCPenney? JCPenney.com. Very good, JCPenney.com. JCPenney.com is called the domain name. Every company and almost everybody has a domain name. That's all we're going to show you today. How to find the domain name. So it's going to be kind of like a little hide and seek. Find the domain name. Okay? So we're going to talk about the domain name in two different environments. The first one we're going to talk about is in your web browsing. When you go to a web browser. By web browser we mean Chrome, Internet Explorer, Edge, Firefox, Mozilla, Opera, whatever. They're all going to the internet. They all have an address, they all have a URL. We're going to find the domain name. To find the domain name, very simple instructions. The address bar at the top of the screen, it should have and start with https://. If it does not, some of them hide that part because it's pretty universal. Between the http:// you read from left to right, you keep on reading until you hit the next slash. When you hit that slash, stop. The stuff that's between those two is the domain name. How many of you got that? How many of you didn't? How many of you need me to explain it again? How about we explain it with some examples? Here's a domain name, and we're going to give you 3 examples before we have the quiz. Okay? I know you can't see this real clearly, but this is what you would look at if you're going to a web browser. And I went to Google and I started searching for Wells Fargo. Charles, can you highlight on there where the URL, the domain name, the web page name is? This is where you would type, if you're going to JCPenney, you would type in JCPenney. So I went to Google and I typed in the Google search Wells Fargo. Now, because what I'm telling you is such a big issue, and scammers will try to hide the domain name and send you somewhere, and you think you're going somewhere else. Browsers do several things, and you can see in this one, they highlighted the domain name for you. So it's very easy. Actually, this is not Chrome. This is, I think, Firefox or one of the web browsers. It highlighted the domain name for us. So if you look, you can see between the https:// and the next slash, the name google.com. Down on that search page, before I click on Wells Fargo to go to the website that I want to go to, the first thing that comes up, first of all, it says it's sponsored. That means someone paid to put it there. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But you can see down below, there's the domain name. That's the URL that it's going to take you to. That URL says Wells Fargo there, wellsfargo.com. That's a good thing. You want to look for that. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm going to say it a couple more times. 90% of the scams that I see have to do with this. People going to the wrong place. The second search result that comes up is this one. But again, you can see right there, it says wellsfargo.com. So we know we truly are going to wellsfargo.com when we click on that. Okay, you ready for the quiz? What is this domain name? Sorry, I couldn't enlarge it anymore. Reddit.com. Starting from the left, going to the first slash, if it doesn't have the HTTP on there. Reddit.com. I don't know if you know what reddit.com is. It's a blogging website where people change ideas and information. It's a valid website to go to if that's what you want to go to. If you get sent there and you were expecting to go to Wells Fargo, that's a problem. Because that's not, oh, thank you, Charles. Reddit.com. Okay? Now, practice number 2. Here's a website that came up. I'll tell you how I got there in a second. What's the domain name on this website? Verizon Administrative Charges Settlement.com. Does that sound like a legitimate website? I'm glad you're suspicious. It actually is a valid website, but I thought the same thing. I thought, this is not a valid website. Because I got to this website because I had an email that said, you have won. You're part of a class action lawsuit against Verizon. I was like, wow, I didn't even know I was in a class action lawsuit against Verizon. And I'm saying that to myself sarcastically because I know I wasn't. And I thought, oh, this is a scam, but I'm getting ready to teach the scamming class. Let's see where this goes. I click on it and it takes me here. And everything that I'm reading up above that I didn't put in there is all good fluff and tells what happened and how it happened. And Charles, can you zoom in on that part again? Because here we go. You've won this lawsuit. All we need is your credit card number. Now again, I stopped. Of course, I didn't enter my credit card number. And again, this is a legitimate site. How do I know that? I verified. I went somewhere else and I did a search. Is there really a class action lawsuit against Verizon? And sure enough, it was. And one of the things that I found was people who saying, yeah, we get these often, these class action lawsuits, and it says that it's going to give you $100, but if you read the fine print 3 lines below that, it says you're going to get 15. Yeah, you know what? It's not even worth me giving you my credit card number to get $15, and I'm not going to do it anyway. So it can be legitimate. The point is you have to verify it. Knowing the domain name is important. Second of all, don't just take anyone's word for it. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, so knowing the truth, tech you up. Email. When you get an email, I call this strategy the 2 froms. I don't know if you know this or not, but when you get an email, it tells you who it's from. But there's 2 of them. There's the first one is the name that they want you to see. Now, this started out as a good thing. I know that if I send you an email, I want it to show that it came from Terry Speicher. That's who it came from. Problem is, there's also, that might not be the real email address that it came from. So that's called a spoof. Someone tells you, I guess you could say it's a lie. They spoof who it's from. So the first from is dictated by whoever sends the email. The second one is the one we want to concentrate on. That's the real email address. And the domain name in there is most important. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting a little techie on you. I'm going to try to slow down and go through that with an example, if you'll allow me to. Every email has a domain name in it. Just like we found the domain name in a website, emails, we need to show you how to find the domain name. How do you find it? It's even easier. Everything after the @ sign. How many of you have an email address? All right, put your hands down. How many of you have an AOL email address? We don't judge, it's okay. If you have an AOL email address, the domain name is @AOL.com. If you have an Outlook email address, it's @Outlook.com. If you have a company email address, it's whatever's after that is the domain name. That tells you where the email came from. So here's an example, and this is a true live example of an email that I got in my email box. And I got this email from Netflix. How disturbing. Your account is on hold. As you can see right here, your account is on hold. Oh no, how terrible. Please update your payment details. Okay, I'll do that right away. First thing we want to do is, who did this email come from? Well, let's look at this first one. It came from Netflix. Oh, good. We know it's from Netflix. No, wait, that's just the name they want you to see. Let's zoom in on this a little bit more. There's Netflix, the name, the first from. The second one is the true place that it came from. What's the domain name? campusintegra.com. Why is Netflix using a domain name of intercampuswhatever.com? They're not. It's a scam. So right away, you can tell that that's a scam. You would not believe how many phone calls I get from people saying, hey, I got this, is it a scam? It's right there. Just look. I'm not condescending at all. Sometimes I say those things in my head a little bit, but it's okay. I don't mind. I tell my customers over and over, if you are unsure of something, please send it to me. Please send me a picture of it. Please call me. Don't just click on it. If you want to, email it to me. I'll click on it. I know how to deal with it. I know how to put it in an environment. I know how to tell what it is, and I want to know what it is. 99.9% of the time, it's a fake. And that's why we did this thing, that it's a scam. I would say that in my mind. People will tell me things. I got this email. It's a scam. If you're calling me about it, it's probably a scam. So this one, 99% of the time, I'm telling you, it's a scam. There was one time it wasn't in an email. And I looked at it and we dealt with it. It was a legitimate email. But so many times it's not. You are safer ignoring them than you are doing something. Because if it's legitimate, they will contact you again. And just don't be so trusting. Look at the domain name. You do also, how many of you get telemarketing phone calls? Yeah, all right. Now, let's classify those as scams for a little bit. I love playing with these people. And some of you know me and I've told you stories. It's hilarious, the things that they are there to provide me with entertainment for. I mean, you can disguise your voice and talk real slow and keep them on the phone forever. While they're on the phone with you, they can't scam anyone else. And it's good for entertainment and keeping you awake when you're driving a long way across town. Oh my gosh, they're so much fun to have. We have a website that we've put together for helping you identify scams. If you look at the first sheet, that's the first handout that you have, the first top page, this is something we've put together called Scammer Notes. A lot of these have just some of the basic things on there to help people not get scammed. It's one of the pages on our website. You can get to our website by scanning that QR code at the top. We'll talk about that a little bit later too, but I wanted to point that out for you because on the website, we will have a couple of other resources for you. One is called Red Flags, and we're going to go through a few red flags. I couldn't believe how many there were. I thought that's too many for this presentation. So we put them on a web page. On that web page also, we're going to have some links to some YouTube videos and other useful resources that we have. One of them that I'm going to put on there is to a guy who just tortures telemarketers. It's really great. You know, he gets these phone calls and he goes after these telemarketers and figures up something to tell them that's just funny and hilarious. So I like to say that because when you get these, you don't have to answer the phone when you get a phone call. Did you know that? I know, we all say, it's ringing, I've got to answer it. I actually know one person who doesn't have a cell phone. Can you believe that? Okay, but I digress. Let's go on to the email. 90% of the scams come from someone not knowing the domain name or not knowing the email domain name. Let's see, let me go back a couple of slides. I'm going to show you the overview of this email. You see it says Visa, that lets us know that they take Visa. And what do they want me to do? Remember, this is just the bait. The hook is me clicking on that red box at the bottom that says, go here to update your payment. Now, if I get this email and I'm not sure, I didn't look at the from addresses and I don't know if it's Netflix or not, what's the safe thing to do? What if I thought maybe, okay, my Netflix account is blocked? Where should I go? Netflix.com, right? Just like this. When you get a call from your credit card company saying there's fraud on your account, what should you do? So the correct answer is hang up and call the number that's on the back of your credit card. That's the way to verify that you're calling the correct people. I will actually do something even more than that. I will tell the person on the phone, and I'll talk to them, but I'm not giving them any information. Supposedly, they're there to help me. They're here to tell me there's fraud. Okay, all we need is your credit card number. Remember Bruce Willis at the beginning? That's the hook. When they ask me for that, I'm like, yeah, you're not it. So before I give them any information, what I will do is say, look, I appreciate you calling me to let me know there's fraud on my account. I'm sure you understand we want to protect against fraud. So I'm going to hang up with you and I'm going to call the number on the back of my card. One of two things happens. One, if it's real, they go, thank you, sir. That's excellent. That's exactly what you should do. More than likely, though, it's a scam, and what are they going to do? We can't say those words. They will go off on you. They will yell at you. They will scream, and they will try to do everything they can because, it's a scam now, and you got them. I have fun with that kind of things. So here's how if you didn't catch the froms and you want to click on something, whether it's an email or whether it's a web page, when there's something that you're going to click on, if you take your mouse and you move your mouse over it, but don't click, that's called hovering your mouse on it. The URL or the address on the website that it's going to take you to will show. And this is without clicking on it. This is just putting your mouse there. So now you can look at that and find the domain name. Who can tell me what the domain name is? Why is Netflix using a domain name called processinfosolution.com instead of netflix.com? It's a scam. All right. So that happens on emails and on any links that you can click on. If you're not sure, don't click on it. If you go to their website, there's a place, it's an email called Scam or No Scam. Scam Me, I can't remember, it's there on the website. You can forward emails to us if you have questions about it. I do this all the time, I look at them. I should just have an auto reply on that email that says, it's a scam, because it almost always is. Also, let's have a hand for Charles. Charles is running the PowerPoint back there. So this email I got is from GoDaddy, and it's saying, we received your request to deactivate your account. Sorry, let's go back. We received this request to deactivate your account. Like, oh no, that's really bad. I don't want that to happen. Well, let's look at where it came from. What's the email address that this came from? What's the domain name? GoDaddy is one of my providers, and it's a very big internet company. Why would they be sending me an email from cheapflightsmarket.com? Surely I do. This is a scam. However, I wanted to click on that link because I'm me. And here's where it took us. jaw.cat. That's the domain name. I don't know what jaw.cat is, but I know that it's not GoDaddy. The funny thing was, you can see that there's nothing there. Nothing came up. Because that was an old email that I had gotten, and when I tried to go click on the link to, get scammed, that website had been taken down already. So that's not uncommon. You'll see a couple more of these. This is a fake Microsoft email that I got saying, hey, we need a multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is, again, where you go to your bank. It used to be that you had a username and password. Remind me of where I am, because I need to digress for just a second and tell you, passwords. Do not use, this is the tech in me talking, free advice, do not use the same password on different websites. Your password needs to be at least 12 characters long, uppercase, lowercase, symbol, and number. At least one of each. Do not make your passwords less than 12. Mathematically, and I've done the math, I love the math. If your password is 10 characters long and you move it to 12, it is exponentially harder to find, on the order of several hundred years trying every computer, every combination but the fastest computer. Make good passwords. Most important, don't use the same password on every site. Because you use it on a different site, you use it with your email address, you use that password, and a website can get hacked by someone. Some people who do websites don't do a very good job, and they don't encrypt your password. They keep your password in what's clear text, which means when they get broken into, someone downloads your email address and your password. Where do they put it? The dark web. People go to the dark web, they find your email address, they find that password. Now they will go to all the other websites and try to log in as you, including your bank. See how that comes about. Don't use the same password in other places. If you want to talk to me later after our final break, I can give you some ways to deal with that very quickly and easily so that you don't have to write everything down but still have different passwords. Okay, so where was I? Multi-factor authentication. So now, assuming that what I just described in that little digression happens, the bank, you have your email address and password, and now somebody else has your email address and password. So that's bad. They can get into your bank account. Well, we have better security that comes about now. So what happens? The bank now requires multi-factor authentication. Not only do you have to have your email address and password, or your username and password, you now have to have your phone. When you try to log in, they're going to send you that code, and then you have to type in the code, and that's the way the bank makes sure that it's you. That's a good thing. But remember the example I told you earlier. Scammers will know that, and scammers will try to get around that also. And it's a very simple scam to call you. They use your username and password, they try to log into your bank. Bank sends the code. They call you and say they're from the bank, they need the code. You give them the code, they're in. That's the multi-factor authentication scam. Do not give a multi-factor code authentication out to anyone. It's just for you. So this is the Microsoft, and they're saying, hey, we need this. Well, did this really come from Microsoft? Let's look. It's in that blue up there. I don't know who ProEquine DVM is, but I'm not trusting that it's Microsoft. Okay? Knowing where it came from. I know I'm spending a little bit of time on this. I know it's probably boring, but it's very, very important. This is a picture from my phone of that QR code. How many of you know what a QR code is? How many of you know what a keyboard is? If you know what a keyboard is, you know what a QR code is. It's just a way for you to scan with your camera or your phone, and it types something in for you. So what is this QR code? By the way, QR stands for Quick Resource. It's a way, you know, your URL that you type to go to a web page, you can click on a QR code and it can fill that in for you. And it's often very long and very complicated, and that's why it's nice to have a QR code. So here I've scanned the QR code on my phone, and if you remember, you know, like 2 hours ago, when you signed in, there was a QR code there for you to sign in. All that QR code does is sends an email to me for you to register. So a QR can be very helpful. This QR code, I didn't know what it was, so when you put your phone on it, it will show you where it's going to take you. You see it's there on the yellow. I'm going to enlarge that in just a second. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. I'm glad I don't have to type that in. What is the actual URL? What's the domain name for that? I can assure you it's fake because the email was fake. I can't show you because if I click, you have to click on that little arrow and that expands the whole thing out. But it wouldn't let me take a picture of that on my phone. I'm sorry, I don't have that. But if you click on that, that's where it's going to take you. I'm going to say something a little controversial. You've heard this said before, don't click on any links in your email. True. If you don't know what it is, please don't click on it. Let me tell you though, the next step. If you do click on a link in your email and it takes you to a page, and you remember the interview we had earlier with Marge saying that she had a Microsoft page that came up. So there's spyware, there's malware, there's all these different things. And there's also one called scareware. Scareware is when you get a web page that pops up and says, this is Microsoft and your computer is infected and your computer is being used and hacked by people all around the internet and they're accessing it and everything. That's scareware, because you clicked on a link and it takes you to a web page. Scareware is not a virus. It's a hook. You don't have any infection in your computer. They are just trying to get you to call them. And then after they call, we just need your credit card number. Okay? So it's not too much danger if you click on something, and we'll talk to you later about what the danger is. The danger is if you call or do something else. Hope that wasn't too ambiguous. When I clicked on that link, this is what came up. Again, it was nothing. Oftentimes these websites get taken down very quickly. Some browsers, oftentimes, like I think Chrome, if I click on that on Chrome, it will come up and say, deceptive site ahead. Enter at your own risk. Please heed those warnings. If you're unsure, contact somebody that does know, email it to me, whatever. Just don't do anything that's going to be irreversible. So as I've said already, because I keep repeating myself, because this is so important, this section shows you how to avert about 90% of the scams that I see. Oftentimes it's because a website pops up that's not correct, or an email comes in, and again, it goes back to emotions. They scare you. There was one that was just so annoying. It popped up and it said Microsoft, and they did something so it filled up the whole screen of a web page, and you couldn't, and it was like way down on you just couldn't get it off. You close it down and they edited the browser so it came up every time you turned your computer back on. Well, and it had this annoying alarm sound and this voice announcing, and it was nerve-rattling. And there's another emotion that they try to use to hook you. Don't call. Don't click. We want to spoofing. I mentioned before, spoofing is the computer term for lying. We're lying about who we are. What can be spoofed? Everything can be spoofed. Everybody and any computer thing can be spoofed, and even more. Email, we just showed you. When the email address is not really from Netflix and it says that it is, or it's not from Microsoft and it says that it is, they have spoofed the email address. Spoofing can also mean that they spoof a real address. Somehow they hack into your email and sending out emails. They're spoofing being you, kind of like an identity theft. Just know that things can be faked. Always look at it with a wary eye. Phone numbers can be spoofed. And if you will, and let me take this time, look on the last page of your handout. The front page of that was the Nigerian letter. The back page of that is a warrant for the arrest of Homer. Again, not his real name. And you can look at this and you can see that it looks almost legitimate. If you look at it closely, and by the way, it's blown up, so you can actually see some more of the detail. You can see where they took some kind of a picture and they superimposed some things on it. You can see the text that's clear. They changed this. You can see up at the top right, there's a phone number. That phone number, I didn't check the phone number, but we're going to assume that that's the one, because that's what I was, the story that I was told that hooked this person. That phone number is for the Denver, Colorado Sheriff's Department. Don't everybody call it and check it, it doesn't matter. And this person named Homer is not a stupid person. He's younger than I am, so you can't say, oh, he's old, he doesn't know how to do it. He runs a very, very large finance company and is very accustomed to scams and schemes, fraud, malicious people, court cases, all that. And so he gets this call. No, this is a God thing. I'm sitting in here practicing when he called me. And he said, can you talk? And I said, yeah, I'm practicing. I've got a few minutes I can talk. So I tell him what I'm doing. He's like, oh, I got a good one for you. So Homer tells me about how he got a call back in the middle of December from the Colorado Sheriff's Department saying, and they were fast talking, saying, we have a warrant for your arrest on 2 counts of you not showing up for a grand jury summons. And we are coming to arrest you and all this different stuff. And here's the hook. They spoofed the sheriff's phone number. So his caller ID showed that it came from the Colorado Sheriff's office. Now that's freaky. That would freak me out, and it freaked him out. So, and they said, you may not hang up. If you disconnect this call or switch away from it for any reason, that will be an extra count added on to these 2 counts. Yeah, you laugh, but remember, emotion bypasses logic. And he's laughing about it now too, and we all are. But when you're in that situation, just like me, when I got that call from someone proposing to be a lawyer, you start shaking and your brain shuts off. Look for the sunlight. Look for the red tags. I asked him, what are the red flags that you found with this? What's the first one that you see on this thing? How do they take money? Bitcoin. All right, what sheriff's department takes Bitcoin? None. Anytime someone's asking you for Bitcoin, I want to hear it. 1, 2, 3. It's a scam. So phone numbers can be scammed. Phone numbers can be spoofed. They can be faked. Don't always trust them. We've got a little video coming up. Voices can be spoofed. We know about AI. AI is a wonderful advance in technology, but now they can take your voice and have it say whatever they want to whoever they want. How do they do this? How do they get your voice? You ever get a phone call and you answer, hello? Hello? Hi, this is Terry. Is anybody there? And that's almost enough for them to spoof your voice. If you just say, hello, and you get nothing, hang up. You know what, if it's a legitimate call, what are they going to do? They'll call you back. So just protect yourself. You can't do everything, but we'll give you the tips that you can do to protect what you know. Here's a video demo. I didn't prepare or do any real voice spoofing, but I did see this video on YouTube, and it gives a good little example. I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations here. The question is, why doesn't someone stop these scammers? Does anyone know the answer? Too many? No? Trying, yeah. We're going to cover this, but I'm going to go ahead and give this away. What's the number one clue that a call is a scammer? Nope, not out of state. Indian accent. Indian accent. Okay, I don't know if someone said that. I couldn't hear everyone. And I'm not racist. I have learned a lot from videos of people from India on YouTube. I love it. I love their knowledge. I love their dedicated work ethic. But they also, it appears, have the government that does not crack down on this. And they're scamming people in the US and the UK. So take that for what it is. It's not because I'm racist. I'm just telling you, it's a warning sign. It's one of the biggest red flags. If you have someone on the phone, and there are a lot of Indian accents in tech support. I deal with them all the time. But if you've got a phone call and someone has an Indian accent, I want you to picture that as a red flag. You know what? If you want, just hang up and verify it. But here's something that I found, and this actually, this is a video I just got this morning about why don't people stop these scammers. That gentleman at the end with the blue hair, his name is Pierogi. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more and give you some links to his videos. But for now, I wanted to show that because that's what we know. People, they're in India. These guys are tracking these scammers and they know where they are. They know their call centers. They call them out. When they talk to them on the phone, they read them their addresses. They look at them on GPS. They know their IP addresses. They know them. They know their Facebook addresses. They break into their computers. They know who the scammers are, but they're in India. So there's a government difference there. And so these people, this is their job. This is what they do. Don't think that they care about you. Don't think that they would hesitate for a second to take your money. So these are scammers. We'll talk more about pierogi in a minute. Question everything. Everything can be spoofed, all the communications, even the voices. So be careful of that. In our next section, we're going to talk about recognizing fakes. We went through the legal and different things so that we can show you the truth. One of the best ways I know of to find the fakes is to know what the truth is. The truth is that you can't go to jail when you haven't been served, that there is no jail for civil if you owe anybody money. So anytime anyone does that, you know that these are fakes. Remember the hook they use, emotional manipulation, for somehow they're going to get you riled up. They're going to have some kind of a hook into you. One of those hooks is urgency. You have to act now. My friend Homer, who had that phone call, you can't disconnect from this. You've got to deal with this right now. Spoofing, we just went over. Everything can be faked. Here's a big thing. The IRS will not show up at your door and take money out of your accounts without due process. Just before the break, I'm going to share a quick story with you and let you know that many years ago, I owed the IRS a lot of money. And they garnished my paycheck. They put a lien against my house. I can promise you this, although that's uncomfortable, there were no threats. I got no phone calls saying, we're going to do this, we're going to come take your house. You know, when in the Dave Ramsey class, when we talk about credit cards are unsecured debt. If you get someone calling you, try to collect on a credit card debt, what recourse do they have? They're not going to come take the stuff back. They can sue you for it. But they are the people who bark the loudest because they don't have any recourse. When you owe money to the bank on your house, if you don't pay your mortgage payment, do they call you and give you nasty phone calls and loudly threaten you to take the house? No, they don't have to, because they've got the bite. The IRS, I'm sure you would agree, has the bite. Okay, so if it's legitimate, first of all, the IRS does not act quickly. If you're in trouble with the IRS, you will get a lot of mail, not emails. You will get a lot of mail. I see heads nodding there. You've been there too, huh? So if someone threatens you saying that they're the IRS, trust that it's not going to happen quickly. I also want to say this was a long time ago. This was not recent. We have cleaned this mess up since then. But all this time, there was no threats. They were very professional. It all happened. They called me and they did tell me what was going to happen, and I knew. I got my paycheck garnished. And so it's legitimate stuff, but it was no surprise, and it was not mean at all. Just like the process server, it's not someone to be afraid of. It's just going to happen. We're going to go through recognizing some fakes. This is more for your cultural enrichment, maybe to share a few stories with you about things that I've dealt with, so that you can see them and shed more light through them. But I have to say, even just reviewing the things that I've shared with you already, most of you will have good ammunition against being scammed. One of the types of scams includes gaining trust. We haven't talked about this yet, but I've seen it and I've talked to other people about it, and it is They use gaining trust, and it's called a romance scam. A romance scam is the kind of thing where, for some reason, somehow, somewhere, some way, you start talking to somebody. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not. But you start, talking to each other, and you develop a relationship, and it's going well, and there is something inside of us that really enjoys being able to connect with people. And if you have trouble, connecting socially, or somehow you just ended up texting somebody, it can be very fulfilling. It can help eliminate that loneliness. Sometimes a romance scam is also called, I call it a long game. And that's because I've heard of romance scams, and some of the people that we've talked to who have been victims from romance scams, it goes on for a year or more before they get to that key question, hey, all I need is your credit card number. Usually the way that comes about in a romance scam, though, is after a while you've developed a rapport, you start talking to people and chatting with them, and then it starts with exchanging pictures. And then, usually, it ends up going to, hey, send me a more revealing picture, and gets worse and worse. Now it turns into an extortion. And the people will say, I'm going to send this picture of you to your friends and family if you don't send me money. Sometimes it may not even be you. I've heard of some scams where they doctor it up, and they put you on pornographic pictures. And they put your face on a pornographic picture and say they're going to spread that around. And so then, what's the emotion that is used as a hook in that? Fear and shame. Okay? So be aware of that. Those are bad people. They're doing that to you. If you're in that situation, I'm sorry. I will say that there are some other scams coming up where you have to deal with them. And you have to be there to help people. Because people hurt from these. Not just money, but obviously in that situation, very embarrassing, potentially very, very embarrassing for their family. So that's the romance scam. I've already said this, I'll say it again. If it's an Indian accent, it's probably a scam. I do want to go over where we were talking about the URLs up there and finding the URL on a website. One of the scams that I've seen several times, and there was a homer in our church who just about 2 weeks ago mentioned that he got hit by this scam also. I had this customer of mine call me and say, I need to talk to you. He said, I was on the phone with HP, and they said that I have 837 viruses on my computer, and they wanted, I said, it's a scam. And he's like, no, I was on there, and I said, listen, let me tell you what happened, and you tell me if this is really what happened. I said, first of all, you got a new HP printer, right? And he said, yeah, it didn't work, so you went to Google, and you typed in HP because you wanted to look up the phone number to talk to them with. And he's like, yeah. So you called the number that you found there, and a guy with an Indian accent answered the phone, and then he said, I want to connect to your computer so I can fix your problem. Yeah. And so this guy with an Indian accent connected to your computer, ran a program called NetStat, which showed you a bunch of useless information that you don't even know what it means, and told you, look at this, look at all these people who are hacking into your computer. And you have all these viruses and all these people that are doing this. I can help you, and I need $500 some amount of money. I just need your credit card number. And so he said, I can't do that, I don't have the money. He hangs up and he calls me, his IT guy. Good, but I knew exactly what happened because it wasn't the first time. So a Google search, you need to know when you click on it that you're going to hp.com, if that's what you're looking for. Because these scammers will put up sponsored ads that come up listed first, and it's them, not the real place. So you think you're going to the real place, and now you're getting misled. And it happens over and over again, all the time. It's another big scam that's out there, and it's very common. But the big key, there are red flags, and we're going to start now as we look at these fakes. What are the red flags? First of all, Indian accent. I'm sorry. Not always. I've seen a couple that didn't, but almost always they have the Indian accent. I'd like to imitate it, but I would probably not do very well. Suspicious calls or texts or messages. Anytime you get something suspicious, let me hear it. Oh, come on, this is not very good. Don't make me make you stand up. Let me hear it. If you get suspicious messages, 1, 2, 3, it's a scam. Thank you. Anyone asking for money, even if it's your children. This is not an excuse to not give your children money. Just verify it. Remember, their voices can be spoofed. You heard on that video how fast the fake person was talking. All the excuses and inconsistency. My phone's not working. Well, then what are you calling me on? They won't take, my phone's dead, and on and on, and they won't take my card, and Okay, yeah. Before you do that, remember, even though you think it's them, just hang up and call them back. Anyone asking for money. A lot of times, suspicious texts and messages, there's a scam called pretext. That's where you will get a text when you didn't expect it, and it's kind of like it looks like an accident. And this can happen with emails also. You get a text and it goes something like this. Hey, George, the gang's all meeting over at that same place for a steakhouse at 7 o'clock. See you there. I'm not George. So you text them back, I'm sorry, I'm afraid you have the wrong number. This is not the person that you were trying to reach. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a new phone and I must have not updated my address book correctly. I appreciate you helping me. You sound like a nice person. Sorry to bother you. Next day, you get a text from them again and it says, hey, you were such a nice person in helping me out and letting me know that it was the wrong number. You weren't mean to me at all. Can we be friends? And it starts up a conversation. I had several of these. I don't know if it's a flurry. I had a bunch of these that happened all within about a 2-week period. So one of two things was happening because I thought, I'm going to let these play out a little bit. I'm doing this seminar. Let's see where they go. One of them, actually two of them, very quickly, within 30 minutes, they start dropping hints about how, they made so much money last month. And then a little bit later, I made so much money last month trading currency. Oh, yeah, you know what? I train people on how to trade currency. I see. So it wasn't a romance thing. They just wanted some kind of sales marketing. Very interesting. Like, I don't know. Others, it went on for a little bit longer, and long enough that I thought, this is weird. It wasn't a romance scam. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the long game was. I wasn't going to waste a year listening to it, so I hang up. If you don't know who they are, go with your friends, go with your family, and ignore the rest of them. Speaking of ignoring the rest of them, have I already said this? You don't have to answer your phone. Did you know that? So when I was a kid, elementary school, I was door-to-door selling candy for a fundraiser. And I remember this door I went to, I knocked on the door, there was a little pause, and then a very elderly lady came to the door and very sternly told me, if I don't answer my door, it's because I don't want to talk to anyone. And the irony of that was not lost on me, even at that young age. Then why did you answer your door to tell me you don't want to talk to anyone? I tell you that, just a little stupid story to remind you, you don't have to talk to these people. It is okay to hang up. I have that tendency where I don't like to hang up on people. Unfortunately, in my business, I have to answer the phone, always. Because I get calls from everywhere. I get calls from all around the world. So I have to deal with these people. You don't. If you don't know them, hang up. If they need you, they'll call back. Or they'll leave a message. Anyone asking for gift cards. Gift cards are nasty. You heard Marge in the interview that we did, where she said she was told to go someplace and buy gift cards. How many of you have bought gift cards? We just went through the Christmas season. Did any of you legitimately give gift cards to any family or friends? They're a wonderful tool. When you went into the store, whatever store it was, wherever all these things are, was there a sign that said, warning, if someone is asking you to buy these, beware you might be scammed? Okay? Now, I didn't include it in this interview, but the interview was longer than what we just played. And that is what happened. There were flags along the way. Anyone asking for gift cards. If anyone tells you to go get gift cards, it's a scam. Get gift cards for your family and your friends. Don't do it if anyone else is telling you to. Brings to mind another scam that we had, and it's actually Pastor Mike, not him being scammed, but someone spoofed his email address and sent an email out to a lot of members of the church and people. And there was one person who responded to it. And the email looked like it was from Pastor Mike Woods, and it said, hey, just wanted you to know I'm running busy. And everybody knows that's true. He's very busy. He said, I'm wanting to get some gift cards for some of the members. It's coming up on the Christmas time. I don't have time. Would you mind going down to the store and getting me the gift cards? I'll certainly pay you back. And everybody knows that Pastor Mike would if it was legitimately him. One person responded to the email and said, yeah, I'd love to help out, except I'm not in town right now, but whatever I can do to help. And then they responded with some instructions, and then all of a sudden the person realized, wait a minute, this is a scam. They sent the emails to me, and turns out a bunch of people at the church had gotten that type of an email with a spoofed email address. And the key is, we're asking for cards. We need gift cards. So when Marge was on the phone with these scammers, they said, we want you to keep us on the phone. Go into this store, buy these cards. Don't talk to anyone. If anyone asks, tell them that you're buying them for your nephew. All right? So there's another red flag. If they ask you to lie, why would any legitimate business person ask you to lie? There's red flags. All right? And we're just trying to help you get the most red flags / sunshine to break through this fog. On these next few slides, I'm going to read you something that looks like it could be a scam, and I want you to reply and yell out to me, it's a scam, okay? Anyone asking you to log into your bank website? It's a scam. All right, that's pretty good. Let's see if we can get a little louder. Anyone asking you to go to your computer? It's a scam. Anyone who asks you to install AnyDesk or Ultra Viewer? Oh, you're slacking. Anyone on the phone asking you to lie? It's a scam. Don't make you stand up. Here's a good one. Here's the one that your elementary teacher and junior high teacher told you would save your life one day. Any bad grammar or bad spelling? It's a scam. This is very easy to spot. I wanted to have a diagram, a picture up there of diagramming sentences, but I didn't have room for it. Yeah, if you remember diagramming sentences, then you watch for that bad spelling. There is no way that Netflix or HP or Microsoft are going to ever have a press release, let alone an email that has bad grammar in it.
It's more often than you think.
Any mention of Bitcoin? How many of you know? It's a scam, thank you. How many of you know what Bitcoin is and how it works? A little bit, okay? Me, a little bit. All you need to know is it's untraceable. And as we heard in the interview, that the person had Marge go to the bank and get $7,000 cash and go to what looked like an ATM. And I've seen them around. They used to have one in Sunland Park Mall next to the right outside the greenery. You can go there and you can deposit your cash and put it into your Bitcoin wallet. And then you can spend it as Bitcoin. And my question is, and I'm not being judgmental, why do you need Bitcoin? It would be like saying, why do you need to buy German Deutschmarks? Is there a reason for it? Well, Bitcoin, you can use Bitcoin to buy things on the internet, and that's okay. It's untraceable. Whenever you change currency, there is always a charge for it. So unless you have a real good reason for it, any mention of Bitcoin, again, I started off this by saying, why? Why do you need some Bitcoin? Why would you want Bitcoin? You probably don't. Most people don't, at this point, need it. Anyone asking you to anyone just mentioning Bitcoin on the phone with you, it's a scam. Any mention of bank transfers? We talked about Western Union. It was any older ways you could transfer money. There's no recourse. You send the money out. Any mention of Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, or any of the other ones we talked about, the Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay? Knowledge is power. Avoid scams, help family, and help others. It's important. I like my two doves, my parents. I'm there to help them. Be there to help other people and other friends and family. How to spot different kinds of scam. Follow the money. It's all good until they want your credit card number. Watch for the red flag. The red flag is going to be somehow, some way, they want money. Bruce Willis knows, and I'm going to put this on the website as a ringtone.
Just need your credit card number. Just need your credit card number.
Any lottery or prize scams, these go along with the Nigerian letter. It is advanced fee scams. They want you to end up paying money. There's also one coming up here for jobs. If you look for a job on the internet, you can, get a job offer, and it's all good, everything's accepted, and then they need a fee for something. Why would you pay a fee for a job? You don't. It's a scam. That can be verified. If anytime you change employment, you should get a letter of intent and an offer that's all legal. And if you have that, you can check it. You can look them up on the internet. You can find their address. You can call them. You can verify things. Verify, verify, verify. If you can't, don't do it. Tech support refund scam. This scam is one that comes up a lot. If you watch some of the videos that we're going to link you to on our website, the tech support scam, the refund is a big one. It's almost ridiculous, but you wouldn't believe how many people fall for it. And one of the reasons you fall for it is because we are kind-hearted. How many of you, if you get money at the grocery store and they give you too much change, will give the money back? I don't see enough hands. I do. I know, you probably just lulled into a false sense of security that I'm not going to ask you any questions. But we're honest. We're honest people. So the way the tech refund scan works is that you get some kind of a notice, some kind of a hook. And usually it's like, okay, we've processed your payment for $399 for Norton Utilities antivirus, or McAfee, or HP support, or Microsoft support, or whatever. It's going to be something that says, we've already done this, or something. Something to make you call. Something to make it so that you get on the hook with them. And then the next thing, and that's first of all is a red flag. You didn't do it, and now you're getting a notice that you did. That's the first red flag. Next red flag is that there's some place to click, some place to call, and then you're talking to somebody, and they have what accent? Indian. An Indian accent, and then they tell you to go to your computer. And they tell you to open up a web browser and go to anydesk.com. Okay, so now I've showed you all these different things, and you can see that's like 5 red flags right away. Go to your computer, go here, load this program. Now what happens is they remote into your computer, and now they can see your computer and they can control your computer. And they keep you in front of the computer, and then they tell you to go to your bank website. So you log into your bank website, and they're seeing all this. They can see it. And you can see what they're doing. They're going to help you. All right? So here's something that I don't know if you know, but here's what they will do. They will tell you, okay, I'm going to process this $300 refund for you, or this $1,000 refund for you, or whatever the money is. It's irrelevant because it's never been charged. So they're going to say, I'm going to refund this money to you. Now, if you see on the screen behind me, this is actually my live GECU account. I'm not doing too well in this savings account. I have $10, and that is legitimate. There is $10 in that GECU account. So I'm going to play a video that I recorded the screen yesterday or the day before. A scammer will look at this when he's on your computer, and he will say, okay, write that number down, and you write down $10. That's how much you know you have in your account. They want that because they want you to see that it's going to change. So as I run this movie, what they're going to do is they're going to select with that mouse those numbers. The available balance of 0, current is 10, total is 10. They're going to select that, and then they're going to right click on it and go to what's called inspect. And you'll see this on the screen. I'm just showing you because it's going to go a little bit fast. Inspect, it's going to open up a bunch of gobbledygook, that is the stuff, the code behind the web page, and they're going to change the numbers and make it appear that they have put money in your account. Here we go. Sorry, there's no music to this. Okay, there they are choosing that 0, right-click inspect. Doesn't matter if they don't know this code. It takes them right to that $10 in the code. They double-click on it. You can see this guy's having a little bit of a hard time. That was me. And let's put $10,000 in this account. Let's go change this other number where it says 10. Right-click inspect, take me right to it. Let's change that number. Let's put that to 10,000 so that the total adds up. Showing you that this is not a mathematical thing. This is just a document that they're editing. And to show you it's not mathematical, let's not put $10,000 down there. Let's put 9,999. And in fact, let's even misspell it and not put all the nines in place. So it'll be 9,99 dot. And then we'll close that page. And now all of a sudden, it looks like that's the amount of money in there. Okay, now, watch what happens. If you refresh the page, it goes back to and reloads the real amounts. So how's this scam work? They get in there and they say, okay, I'm going to give you back your $1,000. And then they get on your phone, on your computer here, they tell you to write down 10 so you know that you had $10 in your account. Very good. Then what they will often do is blank your screen very quickly. Highlight that amount, right-click, inspect, go over there, change it to 10,000, change all the numbers to 10,000, unblank your screen, and then they say, okay, I processed your refund for 1,000. Oh no. I'm sorry. Oh no, I am sorry. I have been reprocessing your account for $10,000, not 1,000. What did you do? Again, I'm not racist. It's just funny to listen to them when you know it's really a scam. So they tell you, what happened? I told you $1,000, not 10,000. You typed in something wrong. We gave you $10,000 now. I'm going to lose my job. My kids are going to starve. I'm not going to be able to afford my house. And they go on and on and on, and they play on your sympathies. I'm going to be in so much trouble with this. I need you to go get. Oh, you know what? And you say, I don't have 9,000. You can see I only had $10 in my bank account. Well, use your credit card. Go down to the Circle K and buy gift cards. And scratch off the number on the back and send me a picture of the number. And as soon as you do that, they've taken your money. So it's the refund scam. They fake a refund to you. They fake accidentally giving you too much money back. And now suddenly you feel like you owe them money and you want to do the right thing. But you can see and if you try to refresh that screen, they will yell at you. They do not want you to refresh that screen. Just like when you get that Microsoft notice, it will say, do not turn your computer off. Yeah, because if you turn your computer off, it goes away. So I'm a little ornery. I do it anyway. And it's fun if they're on the phone with you. And when you watch the videos that we post, the ones on YouTube, the scammers, the scammer paybacks, where they intentionally lead the scammers down the road, keep them on the phone, keep them busy so that they can't hurt other people, and they just drive them nuts. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm getting ahead of myself. Different kinds of scams. eBay or Craigslist. We have a homer that we know who fell prey to this eBay. I've seen it also with Craigslist anymore. If you go to list something on Craigslist because it's too valuable to throw away, but it's not worth paying on eBay, you list it on Craigslist, and then suddenly you start getting, like within 5 minutes, you start getting offers on Craigslist. Someone texting you say, hey, I'm very interested in getting this item. This wheelchair that you have for sale, I said, this would be really good with, for my mom. However, I'm being a good son and I'm helping her because I live in a different state. So because of that, I'm going to send somebody over there to pick it up for you. So in order to cover all this cost and everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a check. I know you're only charging $250 for this wheelchair. I'm going to send you a check for $2,500. And what I need you to do is go ahead and cash that check, keep an extra $100 for yourself, and then give the rest to the guy that's going to come pick it up. Okay, so it's called, first of all, there's an overpayment. So it's an overpay scam. And second, after the person comes and picks it up and you give them the cash to pay them for picking it up, then the check bounces because it was a fake check. Even though it's a certified check, they can fake certified checks. Remember, everything can be spoofed. event. When that happens, now the person this happened to, it was a car. And so they got extra thousands of dollars to give to the person who came to pick it up, signed over the title to it. They had deposited the check bounced, the car was gone, the title was gone, and the extra cash was gone. So beware of these. And they're pretty easy to spot. It also falls under too good to be true. It happens like right away. You start getting these as soon as you post it. Pretext, I've already shared that. You get some random text and someone wants to be your friend for something. Fake job scams, we talked about that. Always verify. You shouldn't have to pay anything. Charity scams, pretty common. It's not really even an IT scam. There are charity scams that are out there where people are saying that they're for a charity. Travel scams, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Cruises for a couple $100, including airfare. Come on. Investment scams, Ponzi scams, and self-directed. I'm going to talk about this real quick because this is a big one. As I was preparing for this, I was thinking about moving an account from one bank to another. And now there are a lot of internet banks that are available. And they may be brick and mortar too. They may have actual branches you can go to. But I was thinking about that. How do you know that an internet bank is really an internet bank? Verify as much as you can, and if you're unsure, don't do it. How many of you have ever heard the term Ponzi? A Ponzi scheme. I believe early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, the guy who started taking investments, pretending to be an investment firm, would take in the money, taking big batches of money, promising great returns. And he would pay the returns, but he would pay it out of the money that he got from people. And then he would get new people to come in, and he would use their money to pay the old people. And, it grows and grows and grows, and then eventually it falls apart because he doesn't have the money. Unfortunately, I'll share a story with you about a lady, a Marge, who talked to us. And I'm going to make several points with this. I was working on her computer, and she happened to mention, she knew that we taught Financial Peace University, and she told me, I got scammed. And the way this scam worked was she had over $100,000 in an IRA. And she talked to someone, and they said, hey, you know what? I can help get you good interest. And she said, oh, okay. And so when she came to me and she told me about this, she told me all of her money was gone. What happened was the guy who did this said, I can put this in a self-directed IRA for you. Now, self-directed IRA means you put it in a self-directed IRA and then you get to invest it. Not where you put it in an IRA and it's, Charles Schwab or Merrill Lynch or Vanguard and you invest it in their stocks. Self-directed, you have more choices. So he said he could put it in a self-directed IRA. This should have been a red flag. And then give himself a loan out of her self-directed IRA. So he promised her 18% interest. Now, when she told me this, I had a hard time wrapping my head around it. I knew what a self-directed IRA was. And so I said, she showed me this big stack of paperwork. And I thought, that's a lot of paperwork. I said, can I take this with me to look at it? And can I share it with my friend? He's really good at this stuff. He can help me unpack this. And she said, sure. So I brought it up to the church and I was copying it. And I put the stack in the copy machine, face down, and start copying it. It's zipping them through. And as it went through, there was a page laying on top that had writing on the back. And I grabbed that page and it had on there a big list of questions. Some of the questions that I remember, I probably still have a picture of them somewhere. How can you afford to give me 18% when banks are only offering 1%? What happens at the end of this 3-year term? Can we renew it and continue on? And a whole long list of questions on that page. And as I looked at that, I thought, wow, she really did her research. That's good. I wonder how she got scammed. So I call my friend and I say, hey, this lady got scammed. And he said, well, did she know it? Did she ask these questions? And I said, yeah. I said, I know she did. I see the questions right here on this paper. And my friend said to me, he was so wise, he said, she didn't ask those questions. I said, yeah, sure she did. They're right here. I see them. No, she may have had them, but she didn't ask them. I was like, no. And here I am arguing this point, and I'm like, why am I arguing this point? I can just go ask her. So I go to ask her. And I said, so did you ask the person these questions? And she said, no. Why not? She said, I needed the money. I needed the return. It's like, So eager for money, and asked the right questions, but didn't present the questions. She had the right questions. She had talked to somebody. So when you talk to somebody, if you're unsure of anything like this, please listen to them. Please listen. I can tell you now of 1 or 2 scams for people that we're dealing with where they won't listen. And we know there's an ongoing scam. You have a responsibility, especially to your family, to do everything you can to make sure that they know that they're being scammed, if they are being scammed, or to know the facts so that they don't get scammed. Self-directed IRAs can be very dangerous. Know what you're doing, know what you're getting into. Another big one is real estate and land trust. So I'm going to cover this for a little bit. The land trust is a way, well, let's put it this way. How surprised would you be if I told you that with about 3 of your signatures, I could steal your house? It's true. And I know, I've done it. Not steal a house. I've purchased a house with a land trust. And it's very simple. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not telling you you can do this or you should do this. I'm just telling you what I did. I did check it out with a lawyer to make sure it was legitimate, but I did it myself. We created a land trust for a home. We retitled the home into the land trust, 1 signature. The owner was set up as the beneficiary. I was set up as the trustee so I could run it, 1 signature. Then she signed over a piece of paper that was an assignment of beneficial interest saying she gives her beneficial interest to me, 2nd signature, and it's done. Now I own the house. Now, I don't suggest that you buy a house that way. We did run into some problems with that. I'm not going to get into that. That's not the important part. The important part is you need to know that your family and you can have your house stolen out from under you without you knowing it. If you sign paperwork you don't understand. How many of you remember and have read all the papers on buying your first house? Remember when you went and you sat down and said, sign here, sign here, sign here. How many of you read all those papers on your first home? How many of you read them all on your last home? As we get older, we get a little bit wiser. I didn't read them first time. I just sign here. So, okay, I get a home. Oh, excellent. That's great. What are these? I don't know. And so know what you're signing. That's an important part. So we do know people who have fallen prey to this scam. And unfortunately, this is contract law. Once it's done, even a judge can't look at that, see that there's a scam in there and say, we can undo this. Check with a lawyer and try. There are things you can do, but negotiating mostly. But with 3 signatures, 2 or 3 signatures, you can lose your property, one of your biggest assets besides your retirement. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Check it out. Multi-factor authentication, we've already talked about that. When you get a multi-factor authentication code, don't give it to anybody, especially anyone who calls you on the phone. Utility scam, it's a simple one. Someone from the utility company supposedly is calling you and telling you that you need to pay. Okay, well, if you're behind on your bill, if it didn't go in and you can verify it, they're not going to ask you for Bitcoin or gift cards. So any unusual form of payment. One last thing is remember that when you do a search on Google, verify where you're going. That's where a lot of the scams come up. Sometimes you're just doing nothing and all of a sudden a Microsoft page comes up saying that you need to click here or that you need to call us. Remember the hook. Remember, emotion is what fogs up all your judgment. The clip we showed you earlier is Pierogi, Scammer Payback. That's the guy with blue hair. We're going to put links on the website. I encourage you to go watch them. I can tell you that when Shelley and I watch them, it's very entertaining. It's fun to look at and laugh at the scammers at their own expense, where these guys are really just taking up their time, wasting their time. And these people, we actually do subscribe to them and send them a small amount of money each month because they do such good work. I'm not saying you should or have to, but I'm telling you, these are the people who go after the actual Indian call centers. They are the people who will break into their phones, break into their cameras, know their location. The guy that has blue hair, Pierogi, he actually speaks Hindi. So when they talk about him behind his back, he knows what they're saying. And they really go after these guys. It's great. Link on there for that. Kit Boga. When you want something a little lighter and entertaining, there's another scammer called Kit Boga. He does videos. Please, I encourage you to go watch them if you want a good laugh. My favorite one that we're going to put a link to is called Microwave, where he dresses up in hair like a little old woman, and he disguises his voice, and he talks to the scammers, and he pretends that her husband is in the kitchen wiring together microwaves to try to create a black hole, and it causes all kinds of interference on the phone and with the computer, and it is just hilarious to see how clueless these scammers are as they go through, yeah, but give us your money. Oh, yeah, but we need your credit card. He's like, and his voice, it's great. We want to recommend them. And I'm not just doing that to promote them. I'm doing this to tell you a lot of these scams that I know about and have been able to recognize is because I watched a lot of these videos and see how they do it. And it's true and it's funny, and then it's also very sad because you know these are real people taking people's money. And we want to do whatever we can to stop them. The pierogi, the Kit Boga is very interesting and very funny. The reason that we support pierogi and with theirs is they are so big, he actually has opened his own call center to be able to help and to hack into people. They also have a users group, people who donate money to this fund where they help people who have been scammed. And they are actually able to get people's money back because they will hack the computers, find the list of the people they're calling, they hack their phones, they can hear the phone conversations, they know the numbers, they call the people and tell them the person on the other line is a scammer, hang up. And if they've gotten any money, they get their accounts, they try to help them get their money back as much as they can. A very worthwhile cause, and they are the ones who are going after the call centers in India. So it's free, you can just go listen to them if you want to. The prevention and cleanup. Be wise. On your computer, you need to have an antivirus program or some kind of an internet security program. It will often be able to stop you if you try to go to the websites that are fake websites. Know the truth. Know the truth and don't be afraid. The IRS is not going to come take you away, nor are you going to get sued so quickly. Be sly. If you suspect that the person you're talking to is not really the person you're talking to, do something sly to them. For example, if I got a call from my brother saying he needed $1,000 wired to him right away with Zelle, I'd say, well, did you ask our sister first before you called me? And he'd say, no, I called you first. Well, I don't have a sister. So slip some kind of personal fact in there. Oftentimes I would get texts or things on Facebook, scammers who would say, hey, this is so-and-so, my Aunt Kay, want to connect on Facebook. Okay, then tell me, what's my grandfather's name? And they're like, oh, all of a sudden I say, yeah, you're a scammer, I know it. Ask them something that they should know, but that they won't if they're a scammer. So be sly about it. I call it being Green Beret. Verify, verify, verify. Always check things out, especially before you give money, because that's what they want is your money. In the interview that we did with Marge, one of the things that the scammer on the phone told her was, don't go to the bank. They connected her. Remember, this is a big trust thing, right? Who wouldn't be fooled by this? She thought she was talking to the fraud department of the bank. Well, who are you going to trust more than that? But watch for the red flags. One of the things they told her was, do not go to the bank. Well, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm a contrarian. I'm going to go to the bank. Let's go check this out. So verify, verify, verify. Go to the bank in person. The bank will not tell you not to go to the bank. Assume it's a scam and follow the money. Take your time, please. Talk to your friends and family. And I wrote in there in parentheses, and listen. Because just like the Marge who had the self-directed IRA, she had the questions, she talked to people, but she didn't listen to them. We know of people right now who are being scammed, but they won't believe that they're being scammed. And it's sad, and what can you do? You do the best you can. Tell them, show them. You don't have to answer your phone. I already told you the lady who told me she didn't have to answer the door as she answered the door. Don't answer the phone. Stop, look, and listen. That's the childhood thing that we learned about crossing the street. The whole purpose there is just to calm down. Have a support system. Call a friend. Talk to a family member. Last thing we're going to cover here is just real quick some cleanup. This is not easy. Cleaning up this is not easy. It's very embarrassing. It is humiliating to think that you got scammed. We've all been scammed at some level in our life, but it's important to talk to people about it. But what happens if you do get scammed? What should you do? It varies. Sometimes one of the first things I know you need to do is call the police or go to the police station and make a police report so there's an official record of it. If you go to the website and you look, if you see your top handout there where it has scammer notes, you'll see that there are some clues on there. There are places that you should call. There are a list of things. Contact your banks. Let them know you've been scammed or you've been hacked. Contact your credit card companies. Contact all the usual places that have any financial dealing, that you have any financial dealings with. In addition to that, your credit reports. The 3 credit report bureaus are listed on there. And if you want, there's a link that's underlined on the paper. If you're sitting there and you're clicking on it on the paper, it's not going to work. You have to go to the website first. But each one of those links will take you to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion so that you can report that you've had identity theft or that there's been fraud on your account so that there's an alert for it. There are agencies that you can contact. If you've been scammed with Bitcoin, it's gone, and you know it. And you should do some reporting of that. But you're probably not going to get any of it back. We'd all like to get the people back who are in India, but you can see how hard that is to have any kind of justice from here over to the people who are doing it in India. So what I will tell you is this: if you have any experiences with dealing with cleanup, any numbers or phone numbers or contacts or any information that can help us help other people or can help other people, please email it to us. We will sift it, we'll check it, and we will put it on the website for everybody to be able to see. On your way in, the registration, the QR code, if you scanned it, all that does is send an email to me so that we can have your email address. We'd like to use that to be able to send you a link to any updates that we have on the website. If you don't want to, you can just always send it back and say, hey, take me off this. We're not trying to spam anybody. We just wanted to have a record of people coming and to be able to let you know if we get any good information on there about how to clean things up. So the agencies are on there, phone numbers are on there, tips are on there, just like they are on the sheet, plus any updates that we have, we will keep posted on that website. Oh, look at that. I had it all written down. There's our website, identifyscams.com. That green QR code on the top of the paper, if you scan that, will take you right to identifyscams.com. I wanted to get itsafake.com, but someone already got that one. I'd like to take a few minutes to make some acknowledgments and thank people. This was not just me, not just Shelley. This was a huge group effort. I want to thank some people for this. I'd like to thank Pastor Mike and the elders for their encouragement for this seminar. I'd like to thank David Hassler, who gave me an interview also. David helped me clarify points regarding the civil and criminal processes, but unfortunately, because of time, I wasn't able to include any of that video in here. So many people helped make this possible, and I don't want to miss anyone. But I want to thank Hilda Terrell and the office staff for helping organize the logistics and the written announcements, Larry Salvati for the hours of work he did putting into the video announcement and interviews, Javier Prado and Ariana Perez for helping with the sound, my friend and business partner, Freddie. He's been sitting over here in the wings. Freddie, stand up and show everybody. Freddie's my partner and longtime friend, IT person. I want to thank him for his technical support and workload sharing so that I could dedicate time to bring you the seminar. My dear friend and kindred spirit, Charles Cranford, in the back in the sound booth. He's running the PowerPoint, without whom this presentation would be so lacking in clarity and visual references. Charles, thank you very much. Shelley, will you come join me up here? Most of you know Shelley. Usually people will say, do you know so-and-so? And I'm like, I don't know, Shelley, do I know them? Mostly, of course, my wife, Shelley, for believing in me, supporting me, and encouraging me, and for all of the work and direction she provided. In addition, I want to thank all the people out there who contributed information and experiences that help shed light on the scammer tactics and techniques so that we can help instruct all of you on how to avoid getting scammed. Thank you all for giving up your Saturday morning to come and participate with us. Please visit the website and send us feedback or comments.
Do you want to answer any of these before the break?
After the break. All right? Give my wife Shelley a hand. Thank you. Charles, am I missing anything? Freddie? Okay. All the cards to Shelley. We're going to take a 10-minute break or so. Looks like we got you out just a few minutes. Oh, look at that. 30 seconds early. Excellent. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you being here.